Welcome to WSOT TV City Talk. I'm so glad that you are joining us today. I'm your host, Angela Stepp. And, I have been privileged for over 17 years to be able to help produce this show, which we consider a voice for you, the viewers. And everything about this show has to do with your questions, your concerns, your comments, your suggestions pertaining to the city of Marion. And, you have put your trust in us to bring your voice to your local elected officials for so many years, over 25 years. And so we want to say a great big thank you to you for trusting us to deliver that message. And I want to let you know that I have some very special guests on the show today. We have heard your voice, and so we are going to make sure to share your thoughts and concerns with those individuals in just a moment. But first, you need to know how you can get in touch with us here at the show. There's several ways. You can give us a call on the message line. It's a local number, 765-536-WSOT. That's 536-9768. Or you can text that number as well. You can do this any time of the day or night, 24 hours a day. You can also go to the show website. It is ctmarion.com, and you can watch archived episodes of the show, and you can submit your questions and your comments and concerns online as well. And then we will make sure to bring them into the attention to the proper elected officials. Now, my guest today is Mr. Jess Allenball, who is the mayor of Marion, as well as Mr. Mike Graft, who is the head of engineering for the city of Marion. And I want to say a great big welcome to both of you. Thank you for coming on to the show.
Thank you for having us.
It's springtime, and we know that means that the roads have been, they've taken a beating from the weather, right? And I have received a ton of phone calls and texts and emails from viewers about the road conditions.
I bet you haven't received as much as City Hall has on those phone calls.
There's a possibility. You might be right on that. But, I'm hearing your voice, and I want to say thank you to all of you who have taken the time to send in your concerns, comments, and I'm going to make sure to address as many as we can fit in on the show today. But I want to let you know that I hear your frustration when you're sending your comments and your frustrations into me. I'm hearing them. And so trying to be a voice for you, I'm going to do my very best today to help translate that over into maybe some progress for you, okay? So bear with me. I'm going to do my best, and we're going to see what we can come up with. Now, Mayor, you just heard me say I've received a bunch of calls, and I've been doing this for 17 years. There's a sense of, it's a new trend I'm seeing. It's more of a sense of frustration. Yes, we all know that's there. And it's part of being in a state that has winter and road conditions. We know they're going to be affected by weather. Now, there's a sense of hopelessness that I'm picking up from the viewers when they're calling in and leaving questions that are saying things I've asked in the past, or I've called, and does anybody even care? Nothing's been done. And I hear that frustration. And so knowing that understanding comes with good communication, I want to say thank you both for being willing to come on and be transparent to address the concerns head on. I know this is a big, challenging task for you both, for your administration, for your department, but you tackle it head on. And so today I would like for you to be able to share with us some of the progress that your administration is making and what your department is doing to help remedy some of the bad road conditions that we're feeling. Okay, ready for that? All right. Thank you for being willing to do that. So, okay, we're going to jump right into it. The first one, I have a call from Mary. Mary, thank you for calling into the show. She says, have you been on Branson Street? She said, try go to St. Martin's or Max Ace Hardware. The road's a mess. Are they ever going to fix it? And she's watching off-air antenna on Channel 27. Thank you, Mary. So, yeah, that road's pretty rough, isn't it?
Actually, that's when we paved last year.
Yeah, we paved that. The question I might have for Mary is if there's a specific side street that she uses on a daily basis, because Branson and McClure in that area were paved last year to the tune of about $300,000 to do those roads. So there might be some side streets, 12th Street, 13th Street, 14th Street in that area that obviously didn't get done within those jobs, but we're trying to keep the patching done on it as the road deems it, and hopefully there'll be some areas that we can do some skip patching which are just small areas that will bring in the small paver, kind of fix those areas up. But the 2 larger roads in those were done. So I'm not sure when she called, but hopefully they haven't fallen apart already. But maybe some side streets, if she could be kind of a little bit more specific to kind of help us. That would
So
be great,
Mary, because I know that you called in within the last 2 weeks, because I know when you called, please, if you would, call us back or email us or text us and let us know specifically where you are having the trouble traversing the roads there so that that can be brought to their attention. And I want to say thank you for making that progress. $300,000, that's a nice
For two
chunk.
streets,
That's,
McClure and Branson.
that's
Let me add this, Mary, if you are listening, make sure that you call City Hall at 662-9931 to let us know where those issues are. Try to get the street addresses and give us the blocks that those are in. I don't know, maybe you're speaking farther north on Branson. Not sure, because we do know that the area you're talking about were both paved last year. So don't wait to just call the TV station. Call City Hall directly at 662-9931 and let us know where your concerns lie, and we'll try to address those.
Okay, awesome. Okay, next one came from Alex. Alex, thank you. Alex says, I live on 33rd Street. The road is in terrible condition. I complained a while back, but nobody seems to care. Please do something. Thank you.
Well, we did do a small section from the Cardinal Greenway to maybe 2 or 3 blocks that was really, really bad. So that's what we call skip patching. It's not an entirety. We didn't do handicap ramps or anything like that, but that's kind of the target that we're trying to do. We're trying to get small areas that are really, really, really bad and target them and get them done as fast as we can. Obviously, there's not enough funds we'd love to have more funds to be able to do that, but we're hitting the small areas. But 33rd, there was a little bit of area done. Probably maybe didn't get the area that he really liked done, but everything's a process. So.
Right. Okay. Hope that answers your question, Alex. All right. The next one I have is from Anna Marie. And Anna Marie had a question about what is happening with State Road 15. I see the road construction going on between here, meaning Marion, and Gas City, and it's a mess. And she wants to know, are they still doing work on the bridges? Now, I'm guessing that's a state project, which you have no control over.
Correct.
But it still affects city as far as traveling and getting around and whatnot, right?
Right. Exactly. We just don't have any control over it. It's a state highway issue.
Yeah.
And we talked about this in the past. Actually, a lot of people don't realize that the section between Adam Street and in the bypass or Baldwin Avenue on 38th Street is State Road 15. Mm-hmm. So we get a lot of calls. When are you going to do something? There's a hole there. Mm-hmm. So all we can do from our department is to call the state and let them know that, hey, there's an issue here. Same thing with the signals and that type of stuff. We just make a phone call. We're kind of the intermediary between the folks to the state. So we're glad to help them with that, because a lot of people don't know who to call. So call us, and we'll make those calls for them.
Thank you for making that easy for us, because we often don't know who to go to. So I appreciate that people can call you directly. And to remind you, if you want to call directly into City Hall, it's a local number, 765-662-9931. You'll get a very sweet lady named Nikki who will answer the phone, and she will get you to Mike or whoever it is that you need to speak with. All right. So the next question that I have for you is going to be about West 3rd Street. Okay, this is from a gal named Deborah. Deborah, thank you for calling in. And she says, I'm going to spare your address, but she says, I live on West 3rd Street here in Marion, and I'm having problems getting some potholes filled. I would just like for you to talk to the mayor about getting those filled, because she said she's called in before. I'm not sure who she's called in to. I don't know if it was to the show or if it was to the city. I'm not sure who. So, Deborah, I'm sorry, I don't know.
That's actually, where she's talking about is Grove Street.
Okay.
She lives on 3rd Street, which is basically the dead end of 3rd Street.
Yes, Grove Street is bad. In fact, I checked it out. You can actually see the damage from satellite.
And I actually made a phone call after I talked with you. I made a phone call to our contractor. They weren't out today. Hopefully they'll be out again tomorrow. We put that highlighted on their list, as well as 5th Street, because 5th Street is really bad in that area as well. So hopefully tomorrow if the weather holds out, they'll be there tomorrow to fix the potholes. But to make that to go in even further, that is actually on our assessment that we're doing of the streets. That's a number 2, which is number 1's the worst, number 2's in second spot. That's actually a skip patch area that we're wanting to do this year.
That's where they're actually going to pave a section of road, not just patch fill.
Y'all have to move your cars, but that's what'll happen.
That's it. Talk to me just a little bit about the prioritizing of the roads, because I know that's something that you put a lot of effort into, because you're working with limited funds,
Correct.
right?
And each
Talk
year,
about that, Mike.
yeah,
The
each year
funds we're
we have
working
to
with.
do a street assessment every year because the streets can vary in conditions.
Right.
So, yeah, our local funds are basically budgeted dollars that we get from either the city council. We, in the tunes of a dollar amount is probably $750,000 between what we get from the state funds and from what we get from the local funds. So trying to make those dollars stretch is kind of tough, and you got to get creative at times. And we were very blessed last year that we did about a little over 10 miles, and that was with the help from the state, from the community crossing.
That's very
funds.
significant.
So our hope is, and we just found out some good news, that there's a possibility that we can use some of the work that the utilities are doing out on Home Avenue and use those dollars as matching dollars to go after another $1 million. He doesn't even know that. He
That's
just found
good
that out.
news.
Oh, look, there's some
So there's a
happiness
smile
right
right
there
there.
next
I
to
like
me.
that.
No, put the smile on camera right there, right? That's wonderful news.
So
And let Mike tell you.
Got to be creative.
Let Mike tell you quickly. Again, Mike, remind the viewers, how much does it cost per mile if we pave completely the road side to side, sidewalk to sidewalk, all the way down? How much per
mile? Which doesn't seem like a lot when you lay it out and you're looking from here to there. A mile doesn't seem very far, but if we mill it, which is removing the old asphalt about 1.5 inches deep to kind of smooth it out, and then if we do any of the handicap ramps, and then we come into overlay, you're talking a typical about $150,000 to do a mile.
For 1 mile.
For 1 mile of street.
Okay, let me put that in a real quick perspective, just because I know that the state right now allocates around $340 million total for local municipalities every year to be able to work on their own local projects, right? And when you think about the state is putting out budget-wise around $342 million, and you're telling me it's $100,000 for 1 mile, or 100 and roughly for 1 mile. You start doing that math, and you realize that $340 million isn't going to go very far when you're talking statewide.
Yeah, and the biggest problem too is Fort Wayne, Gary, Indianapolis. They're getting the largest amounts, and when you start breaking those funds down into the smaller municipalities, it doesn't seem very.
And that's why we can't do all the roads we'd like. We have to be smart, and I've advised Mike that I want to focus on the major thoroughfares first, our major east-west roads, our major north-south roads. We started that last year. We'll continue that this year. And then Mike will let me know these are the roads, some of these small side roads that you see getting paved, or because if we don't, we jeopardize losing the fundings we get from the state. An F road, if we call it an F road, has to be addressed. And that's why Mike and I work together. He tells me this one will have to be taken care of, Mayor, or we jeopardize the funding. So if you see those kind of strange streets out somewhere, then you're thinking, why in the world they pave that? Hardly. There's a reason for the paving when we do. We aren't picking and choosing our favorites. We're doing what we need to do. But our major thoroughfares are going to be the focus because of the limit funding. At least it gives us avenues towards church, work, school, doctor, grocery. And those are the most used streets, so we want to take care of those first.
So, and then that's what you're going to put the majority of the funds into.
Yeah, we'll try to do that.
Because it's so important for your local economy, because your infrastructure is what helps boost and grow your local economy. And if people can't traverse main roads, then, I know it's frustrating, though, when it's your driveway that has the crater right in front of it. I know, right?
And keep in mind, when Mike mentioned that Grove Street was a 2, not a 1. I mean, it's not one of our worst. We have others out there that are worse than that. So
I can see it from satellite.
You can see it from space.
So keep that in mind. So when you don't see as many of the major roads paved, I can tell you this, and I think Mike's been very pleased. We're trying to use every dollar we get for streets, widen streets, and I think we've been able to do that. Mike's been very smart and frugal with the taxpayers' dollars in that regard. And it's a team effort there at City Hall trying to accomplish these things. And I wish we could do more, but it comes down to the resources we have to work with.
Yeah. And I have to say, I'm thinking of the big projects that you worked on last year and how you were able to come in under budget and faster than what you had predicted. You beat your deadline. So, it's not that you aren't making the effort. And, I want to give these guys some credit here because, this is something that we all feel when we drive on the roads and we try to get around town. It's something that we all feel. And, when you call into this show, just like Grove Street, for example, we were able to raise some awareness and Mike said, you know what, we care. I'm going to get that fixed for you. So want you to understand that these gentlemen that have come here today to sit and listen to your questions and your concerns, they're here because they want to be transparent and they want you to know and understand that they care about the city and they care about your concerns. That's why they're here. They wouldn't be here because I'm sure they have a lot more fun things to do than let me fuss at them for 30 minutes or so. So I want to say thank you guys for doing that.
You're welcome. So
I have another one I want to get to. This one is about some traffic lights. It's on Kim Road. And this, I don't have a name for the person who called in, but they said that there is a stoplight on Kim Road right in front of Circle K that's been flashing yellow for quite some time now. And the stoplight west of that is flashing too, which makes it difficult for people who are walking from Northgate to Circle K on Kim Road. And this individual is just wondering if you could look at doing something, whether it be going back to having the lights change colors again, or could you put a button in so that the pedestrians can cross easier? I know there's a traffic, the Marion Traffic Commission meeting is coming up here on the 20th of March. Is that something that could be addressed then?
This has been one that's kind of been happening for quite some time. The reason it went on flash is the control box and the loop detection has completely went out at that intersection. It would cost upwards to $30,000 to modernize that intersection again. So, and we looked trying to be frugal with the dollars and literally trying to remove some of the stoplights that are not really necessary. Unfortunately, this is at a busy intersection of Park Avenue, but there is. And I don't mean to, as I read that, it's actually east. There's another light east and not west because it took me a minute to think. It's the one closer to the mall.
Right.
Yes.
And it actually is ped crossing capable. And it's set up specifically for the north side to be able to cross to the south side.
Let me jump in real quick because
Sure.
he does this to me too. Ped crossing is pedestrian crossing. For those who weren't sure, but he's been doing this for so long, but that is pedestrian crossing, and you can push a button there and cross to the mall.
And that one is, like you said, at the mall. It's also the one that would be near Needler's Supermarket.
That's correct.
Correct?
Correct. So if you're walking that way, obviously it's a half a block, but that one is actually automated for that, and the spacing and the time frequency is a little bit longer to allow for the elderly or anybody that's handicapped or in wheelchairs to be able to cross that, as opposed to at Park Avenue. If we were to put that back on full activation, which is going to cost us quite a few dollars, it's still about a minute and 10 seconds at max that you have to get across the street. So that kind of pushes anybody that has a disability to get across the street, where if you go another half a block, you have a little bit more of a time frame to get there.
True. So important.
You could come back towards
Circle
K. So.
Yeah, I hope that was something that was helpful for you to hear. I know that it is just a little bit further out of your way if you're not willing to walk all the way down, but at least they do have something in place. And I do understand financially, if we just don't quite have what we need to be able to make that other one function just yet. It's on the list though, right?
Well, eventually.
Eventually?
Yeah, I think
I'm not
there's
going to hold you
more,
to a deadline.
There's going to be more study to it to whether or not that actually goes to a two-way stop.
Okay.
And Kim Road stays active. That's what the Traffic Commission will continue to talk about.
I have about 30 seconds. I wanted to ask you about some street signs. There's something. You're smiling. Go ahead.
We just had a discussion today, and the news wasn't as good as I was hoping to hear from Mike, but I'll let Mike talk about that.
Well, we'd applied for a grant through the federal government, which was a 90-10 grant, to replace a lot of our informational signs, stop signs, speed limit signs, and we were in hopes that we would have construction started this year and maybe finish up in 2019. But I got a letter from the state today that due to federal funding, the way that it's coming down to the local municipalities, we're not going to see that till 2021.
Okay.
So we were not happy about that information. So obviously we'll try to make do with the dollars that we have in hand and start trying to do some enhancement. It wasn't going to cover all of the street signs necessarily anyways, but I mean, it was about $531,000 that we won't get for another few years, unfortunately.
But it's
still
down
there.
the way. It's still there.
It's just a waiting game.
A little. All right. Well, I think we can make do. Right now, we'll worry about filling some potholes and doing some patching,
Exactly.
right?
That's what's our priority.
Right. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for coming onto the show. We got to take a quick break. And when we come back, I think we're going to talk maybe a little bit more about some blight elimination, some public health concerns, that sort of thing. So you don't want to go anywhere. We'll be right back with some more WSOT City Talk here in just a moment. Welcome back to WSOT TV City Talk. So glad that you are joining us. And I want to remind you that this is your show, and what we talk about pertains to the city of Marion, and your questions and concerns and suggestions are what we directly deal with. Now, if you have something that you would like for us to talk about on the show, there's a few different ways that you can get that information to us. You can call our message line, which is a local number, 765-536-WSOT. That's 536-9768. Or you can text that number anytime, day or night. You can also go to the show website, which is ctmarion.com, and you can submit questions online there and watch our archived episodes. I'm getting tongue-tied today, Mayor. My gracious. All right, so we're going to talk about, in this segment, some blight elimination and maybe some public health concerns.
Well, thank goodness we don't have any blight in Marion, Indiana.
You know, you actually have been, your administration has been working really hard to continue the efforts to get rid of that. And you just did some major cleanup, didn't you? Maybe
We did.
Something about 60 plus dump truck loads. What is that all about?
Well, last fall, before the weather turned to winter, very late in fall, I asked Jerry Faustnight, who I call Bulldog there at City Hall, the building commissioner, code enforcement leader, to address all the furniture we were seeing all over the city. I mean, it was everywhere, as you know. If you live here, you saw furniture in backyards, front yards, side yards, trash everywhere. And with the look of that around our city and knowing snow was about to fall, I didn't want snow-covered furniture on people's front yards and backyards and side yards. So I said, Jerry, will you go out and try to pick up as much of this debris and trash as you can, and let's put a little blitz on this. So he spent about 3 weeks or maybe 4 weeks and ran over close to 65 dump truck loads of picking up this kind of trash and furniture all over our community. And we felt that was necessary. I do know that there's still a lot of that out there, and if you are living around it and near it, you're frustrated because you're thinking, when are they going to get to me? But I'm telling you, we did 60-some dump truck loads, and there was still a lot of it left. And I drove around after the blitz was over, and Jerry and I talked, and we laughed about it, said, man, we just worked our tails off, but there's still a lot of this around our community. And I don't remember Marion looking like this years ago. People seem to take more care of their properties. And I think a lot of these properties where we have these issues, not all of them, but a lot of them, are rental properties.
I'm glad you bring that up. Can I interject real quick? Because I have a caller. His name is JJ, and he has a question. He needs some help, and I think it has a little bit to do with landlords as well. Now, I'm going to preface this real quick, and I'm going to let you know this is kind of a heavy inquiry, so I'm just going to read it directly, okay? So JJ writes, my question is, are they going to do anything about the slumlords in this town that continue to rent apartments infested with cockroaches, bed bugs, and such? This is from personal experience. So this is from JJ's personal experience. Apparently he's been a renter. Up here on 3rd and 4th Street, the Hill, there's people that are renting places full of bed bugs. I had to burn up everything I owned before because of this. I went to the health department. They did absolutely nothing. Apparently, he claims that the health department knew about it a year and a half before he experienced the problems with the bed bugs. And so he has gone on. It's a long, lengthy, but it appears that JJ has followed the right course of action, contacting the health department, but you know, he feels like his complaint is just falling on deaf ears. Is he following the right course of action? Is there something that he should be doing? Is there anything that the city can do to help assist JJ?
Well,
he's definitely concerned.
The answer to that, JJ, is you're trying to do the right thing, going through the right entities to get something changed. The health department is a county office, not a city office, so I don't have any authority over them. I will share this with people there at county government that can address this issue. We as a city are trying to address it. We have an ordinance committee right now that meets on a very regular basis before the city council meetings. They're meeting every week or two trying to address ordinance issues similar to what Fort Wayne's using to strengthen if a landlord doesn't keep their property to expectations, the expectations through this type of ordinance would be raised, more accountability, and also more penal. If they do not follow the ordinance, then there will be a greater cost to these people who are not taking care of their properties. It's not just a landlord, this is homeowners too, but we do know we have an issue with landlords in our community who are not doing the job they need to do. It's their tenant. They can't tell us it's the tenant's responsibility. We feel like, wait a minute, you own the home, you're getting a profit from this property, or you wouldn't be doing this for very long if you weren't getting a return on that investment, and you need to hold them accountable. If you don't, the city has to step in, then we're going to go through our process, and there's going to be a cost factor to landlords that aren't taking care of their properties. And this new ordinance is going to be strengthened. We strengthened it a little in 2016 when I first came into office. This will kick it up a notch again and make it more difficult for landlords not to hold their tenants and their own properties in. They're going to be held accountable, and we'll do what we can with the manpower we have to enforce those. Unfortunately, we don't have the manpower to get to all the homes that people are complaining about as quickly as they'd like. Bear with us. We are tight budgets for the city of Marion, as people know, and we'll get to these properties as soon as we can, but we just add them to a list because we get calls every day from people with similar complaints, JJ, and that's a sad state, but we're trying to address it. I think this new ordinance will add a lot more teeth, and we hope the landlords will comply.
And I'm so glad that you mentioned ordinance. Now, we've got about a minute and a half left on the show.
Sorry, that was a long answer.
No, but it's an important issue to deal with, so I thank you for dealing with that. And JJ, I hope we were able to address your situation a little bit better. Speaking of ordinances, I have another call that came in. Ask the mayor when he's going to clean up the junkyard on North Horton Street. I think this is the one that's located north of Powell Club. So I'm just curious, are you aware of this property? Is there anything that, any current ordinances or code violations that you're aware of that maybe need to be addressed? Or is that just something you can look into for us?
I'm actually aware of that. In fact, Bulldog, Jerry Falsnight, the building commissioner, I instructed him to go see that property again because I'd had some more complaints from some people in the neighborhood. Jerry went out and told the landowner these are the things that have to happen, and we'll keep an eye on that. This has been an ongoing battle. Personally, I'm getting a little tired and worn out from it. I want people to take care of their properties and then keep them maintained so the people in their neighborhood don't feel like they're being slighted by this administration. We are not slighting you, but we have to follow the rules.
Right.
And sometimes people they clean it up briefly and then regress back to what they were doing before. And those kind of people I'm really getting worn out by, and I want them to either figure it out or we're going to figure it out for them.
Right. So real quick, I've got 15 seconds. The CHARM grant. That is something, it's a local initiative that local business owners can apply for that would be a fund matching up to $1,000. We just had the first recipient, business owner. Who was it that won? It's awarded quarterly. And you can find more information out for those of you who want to find out about this CHARM grant. If you're a business owner, go to the show website, ctmarion.com. We'll get you a link so you can apply. Who won the first quarter of the CHARM grant?
The winner of this first one, and this is an Economic Growth Council partnership with the City of Marion. The Growth Council awarded that first one to Creech's Country Cafe right there on Washington Street by the river, by the bridge there, across from the YMCA. And they were thrilled to receive that. They have plans for some signage, perhaps a new deck for their restaurant.
Nice. It's going to look nice.
Very first
Always
one.
Good. That's exciting. I can't wait to see where this program goes. It's a wonderful initiative.
We think it has a lot of potential.
Well, you know what? We're out of time. Thank you for coming on to the show. Thank you for taking on these questions and for answering them as honestly and as best as you can. Hey, look, guys, we're getting some streets pay. We've got some city ordinances that are being looked at. So there's a lot of good things happening, a lot of great progress. We want you to keep those calls coming into the show, 536-WSOT-TV. We are all out of time, so stay tuned for some more quality programming that you can trust right here on WSOT-TV.